Hi, my name is Brian, and today I'm going to talk a little bit about dust collection. Dust collection is my latest project. If you've watched some of my other videos, you know that I am also into metalworking and I'm also into saltwater aquariums. I've received a lot of really great feedback from you guys, and it makes my day to get positive feedback. Sometimes the negative feedback makes me laugh too. I do actually look at the feedback. But this is part of the aquarium project. I need to build a surround for the aquarium to make it look like it's on an aquarium stand. And I've decided that I'm going to do that out of cherry plywood with maple panels. So that means I got into the cabinet making business by default. No big deal. I've already built a very large saltwater aquarium. So, I look at it like this. Cabinet is a box that doesn't have to hold water. I can build a plastic box that holds water. Cabinet shouldn't be that big of a deal. But along the way, I've picked up some new tools, and one of the challenges I had to contend with was dust collection. And I originally was going to use a shop vac, and I realized, that's probably not enough suction for the tools that I'm going to be using. And I looked at the stuff that's on the market, and quite frankly, half of it's junk. Riveted impellers. Really? Riveted impeller is great until a piece of wood gets in it, and then it was a riveted impeller. So I studied the material I could find. There are a number of opinions about dust collection and chip collection. Bottom line is that when you cut wood, you create dust, and inhaling dust is extremely bad for you. So you really have a couple of options, and I want to give credit. There's a gentleman named Bill Pence who has done a significant amount of research and has really raised the awareness level. And if you haven't read his work, you really should go take a look at it. But Mr. Pence suffered some injuries from a dust collector that didn't collect the fine woodworking dust. And so there's a couple of things that you can summarize about dust collection. First, chip collection starts at 350 cubic feet per minute. My shop vac doesn't do that. Second, there are some other standards, but bottom line is if you want to get all the fine dust, you have to have about 1,000 cubic feet per minute at the tool. That is what's necessary to suck in the small dust. And then third, you have to really filter the air in order to discharge it back into your shop. So that's not practical for me, and it's not practical for a lot of other woodworkers. So the next best thing is to discharge the air out of the shop, and then that's what I plan on doing. And I looked at making a trash can separator, and quite frankly, most of those look like junk too. They really don't look that complicated. So what I did is I have a American-made Cincinnati fan 1500S fume extractor. Now this fan is not designed for dust collection, but it is quite capable of handling dust. It's actually made for welding, and I think dealing with hot molten iron sparks is probably a tad more challenging than dealing with sawdust. I used this for several years to pull the smoke away from a laser cutter. So I know it is a phenomenal fan. It is rated for approximately 700 CFM. It has real fan tables to back it up, and it's actually engineered, not just designed. And Cincinnati Fan makes an incredible product. They make it here in the United States. You could use any blower if you wanted to do something similar to this. In this particular case, there's a 1.5 horsepower 3-phase motor. It is rated for a service of 1.15, which basically means it will take anything you can throw at it and then some. It has approximately a 6-inch intake and about a 7-inch exhaust. I'm using a Fernco clay to cast iron PVC adapter on the intake. And a lot of people tend to mount the blower down here, and that introduces additional turns into your dust collector. So well, I can weld, and I'm using about 1.25 sticks of 2.5 inch steel tubing. It's about $45, $50 worth of steel. I already own the blower, but if you had to buy this on eBay, you'd probably spend about $150 on it. And then I bought this food grade 55-gallon drum on Craigslist for $25. Now, this drum was used for rendered pork skin fat, which is probably as disgusting as it sounds. But it came with a lid, and let me just stick that out of the way. And it also came with a clamp. I don't know where the clamp is. I'll find it at some point. But the clamp goes around here, and it'll hold this lid on very securely. The exhaust is a $7 part from Peachtree Woodworking with a flexible piece of 4-inch PVC duct that will act as the interface to the blower. I like this. It's clear. It's well rated. I first discovered Peachtree through Amazon, and then I've ordered from them a couple times, and they've always given me great service. Their website is ptreeusa.com. I am not affiliated with them. I do not get commission, but I do like to support other small businesses when I can find them and they give good service. So I decided to use what to me look like long turn L's. Fluid dynamics says that when you make a sharp turn, it costs you static pressure. And this is well established in liquids, and air behaves like a liquid when it is in a duct. I'm not going to get into the physics, and I'm sure there are a couple of you who could probably prove me wrong on that, but bottom line is sharp turns cost you efficiency in a system that handles air or water. So you want to keep your velocity down, and you want your curves to be gradual, not sharp. So what I did is I worked out that if I put a angle like this, it would shoot the material against the wall and induce a cyclonic flow. The blower rotates in the same direction, which means that the cyclone will be most efficient rotating the same direction. And the way I worked this out was very unscientific. I stuck this piece in, and then I stuck my hand under here and figured out which way can I point it and it not hit the wall. And then I arranged a piece over top of it and outlined it, and what I'll do is I'll drill holes and attach it. And so you'll get something that looks like this, and it will bring the material in, it will go down through, and then it will go into a cyclone. And as the heavier and larger pieces hit the sidewall, they will fall down. I am debating whether to add a 5-gallon bucket to this design. One of the things I'm thinking about doing is on the inside adding a 5-gallon bucket to enforce the cyclone for a little bit of distance. I don't know. I'm gonna build it this way and just see how it works. And I will prime and paint this. The fan, one mistake I made is I put the support bars, which are probably hard to see here, I put the bars a little too close together by about 1/2 inch. And as a result, the motor didn't want to sit up here, so I notched it, and now it actually sits in these little notches, and it didn't go on anywhere. The other mistake that I made is I put the casters on this, and the casters really should have been moved out to the end. I moved them inboard a little bit, thinking that would be clever. It results in, it's a little top heavy. I will have to be careful moving this. The reality is I'm going to roll this thing outside, and it's going to stay in one place. I probably did not need to put casters on it, but it seemed like a good idea last night. The barrel is held in place with some clips. They're little pieces of angle iron. There's one here, one at the back, and 2 more on the other side. And they basically hold the barrel in place. And you can see I can roll this whole thing around. the idea is when it is time to change this, it's going to be a little bit of a pain. I'm going to disconnect this, take off the lid, and then I will manhandle the bucket over to the trash can and dump it. If I need help, I will use my forklift. It's very good for these things. I don't know why. Oh, there it is. So there's this really nice ring that comes with this. Oh, and it even has some disgusting pork fat left on it. And, you know, I'm pretty sure this ring will work. And if it doesn't, I'm going to have some issues. So let's see. Yeah. So yeah, I'm going to have to disconnect the hose to remove this and put it in. That's okay. You know, there's another gentleman on the internet who used a smaller barrel. The reality is to truly be an efficient cyclone, this thing needs to be like this. But that's not practical. And it also needs to be about yay tall. Again, that's not practical. You could add a funnel-shaped device to the top of this and it would improve the efficiency, but it would also make it taller. And where this is going is space constrained. I measured this. This is 81 inches tall, and it's approximately 24 by 24 or 24 by 27, including the casters at the bottom. You know, and the net of it is that I will have a dust collector with larger collection than a regular trash can, an industrial fan, excluding fan cost. I've got maybe $100 into this, so I think it's well worth the shot. And if for some reason this fan doesn't bring the horsepower, I will go and get the Harbor Freight $200 blower that comes with a dust collection assembly that you can throw in the trash. A lot of people have done interesting things to it, and I will just simply rework this to run on that. But I have this, so I wanted to save my $200. And so what I'm going to do is go through the different pieces of putting this together and let you watch. Okay, so I've got a drill bit, and I've sized this the old-fashioned way. I just basically went and found a drill bit that fits securely in the holes. I'm going to go ahead and chuck this in the drill. And you know, for those watching, you'll recognize this as a Harbor Freight drill. It works just fine. Bought it a year ago because I was really unhappy with my Ryobi tools. I just kept losing batteries too often. And by losing, I mean they kept dying. Okay, so I've gone ahead and drilled that. Next step is I need to find my caulk gun, so I'll be right back. Okay, so I've got some Loctite PL375. You know, this isn't something you should use inside and sit around with. It stinks to high hell. Now, you know what? I also need to go get some screws that'll fit this, so let me go get those. I don't think anything really surprises me anymore, but it turned out I did not have the right size screws for this. It was about an M6 and I needed, but I just happened to have 1/4 20. So we're going to use 1/4 20 on it. Got to find those two. Well, these should be them. We're going to use my favorite version of fastener, which is, well, this should be 1/4 20. Guess not. Well, more fun in a moment. Okay, so a few minutes later I found everything. I found my 1/4 20 box of fasteners, hex lock nuts, and some washers. Sometimes a joke that I practically have a hardware store back here. So I've had a little bit of issues with my hands typing on the keyboard, so I use power tools wherever possible, and that includes when dispensing caulk. So I've got some Loctite PL375, and this is a polyurethane, and the purpose of this is, aside from it's fun to make a mess, this will ensure I get a good airtight seal, which will improve the quality of my separator. Air leaks are a real drag on performance, and so you want to do what you can to get rid of them. You know, those were in the bin labeled 1/4 inch, but they sure don't look like 1/4 inch. So I'm adding some washers as strain relief because this is made in Taiwan with lizard wings and butterfly tails. Yes, that was an intentional transposition. Probably would not have hurt to have tested this before there we go. So now we've got a good start to this, and what we need to do is pop this puppy loose, and then we can fasten everything down. So, nice thing about working with a barrel is it doubles as a added hand. I wonder what that was. Oh well. Bolts are still there, so whatever it was must not have been important. Famous last words. Actually, I'm pretty sure I know what it was. So it is a 7/16 socket, and this would actually work better like this. So this is how we'll run it. So a little noise. I want to point something out as I'm doing this. You know, if you don't happen to have all the same fancy tools, don't worry about it. You can do this with less sophisticated tools. So if you don't have an impact screwdriver, don't let that stop you from doing the project. You know, use a wrench. It'll get the job done. As far as cutting holes in the lid, I marked it with a 4-inch circle saw, and but you could mark it with a pen if you were so inclined. And then I cut it out with a plasma cutter. If you don't have a plasma cutter, don't worry about it. You could do this with a jigsaw. In theory, you could do it with a hacksaw, but it'd be just a lot on the hard side. You would just drill a hole somewhere along your circle, and then you would you know, run around it with a jigsaw would be probably the easiest way to do it by hand. So what I'm doing now is removing the excess adhesive. You know, it doesn't have to be pretty, it has to be functional, but there's no reason it can't be a little bit prettier than just goobity-gop. It is best to get the polyurethane off your hands right away. So if you happen to get it on your hands, it is best to get rid of it. I'm not really sure what rendered pork skin fat is, but it smells a little bit like day-old bacon. So I'm sure it's pretty nasty stuff. I used some degreaser, actually trisodium phosphate, and some hot water to try and get rid of what was in the barrel, and there's less of it than there used to be in there, but it isn't perfect. So now what I'm doing is just trying to clean out the inside of this and make sure there's as few obstructions in here as possible. Okay, so that's that part. Now we'll go ahead and attach to the second one. I need some more washers. Now I'm going to go ahead and now you may be asking yourself, gosh, you're sure putting a lot of that on there and you just wiped a whole bunch of it off. You'd be absolutely correct. However, I am a little closer to the edge of this lid than I would like to have been. And so I know I've got a little bit of a bump that I need to seal, and that is something that the polyurethane will do just fine with. It's all good. This is really not that big of a deal. Well, or so I think. Just pop a little bit of flashing out of my way, and then I can get this bolt to go through. Another washer. And this one's a little short, so I'm actually going to go get a little bit longer bolt. And you can hear some background noise. It's decided to start raining. You know, the northern part of the United States gets snow. Texas gets wet. Or at least where I live in Texas, it gets wet. And that's okay, because wet runs away on its own, and snow has to be shoveled. Snow looks wonderful on holiday greeting cards. And it does not look so wonderful when it's in your driveway and you have to shovel it. Okay, so I believe we're good there. Let me make sure we still fit. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Now it needs, and you can see here I've got a lot of goop, so I'm going to go ahead and clean that up. Using Shop Towels brand paper towels. They're a lot thicker than ordinary paper towels, and they work fantastic out in the shop where you tend to have more gunk. So, for those that have been watching my videos for a while, you may notice that the focus quality on this one has improved. I've added a little bit of gear. I upgraded to a 6D, which is a little bit nicer Canon camera. I used to shoot with a 5D Mark II. 5D Mark II is a fantastic camera. In fact, might actually have a little bit better resolution. But the 6D has follow focus in video, and I thought, because I do so many videos, that this actually would be a great feature for me, and it has been. I also added a little monitor so I can see whether or not I'm on the screen. All right. So now for the bonus prize, I'm going to see if I can get my hand down in there and get this cleaned out. Nope, not happening. Nope, not happening. Yep, so whatever's in there is going to stay in there because I can't get my hand in there. So we're not done, but I sure would like to do a little bit of testing, so I'm going to. So I'm going to spin this around and I'm going to set up for a test and I'll be right back.